off to the principal's office I go. Yo, you think this is bad? Wait till I get my report card.
Welcome to episode 2, Principal's Office. I'm Matt Lewis, your host, and of course this is the series that aims to give you guys a greater insight into what educational practice is all about. Today I'm joined by two wonderful teachers, one that's just a mum and one that's going to be a mum-to-be type of thing. So we've got Allison Wong and Georgea Matthews. Thanks for joining us today. It's wonderful to have you here along with us on the Principal's Office to talk about something very, very important. But before we do, I'd just like to find out from you guys what a funny story you've had in your career so far. Now, Allison, you've been teaching for about 4 years, so you have less to call on. But Georgia, you've been, about 8 years?
It's my 10th year.
10th year?
Yep.
Wow, okay, so
I know.
So you should have some funny stories for us. No pressure. But anyway, you go first,
my first
Georgia.
one.
You're first.
Okay, yep, all right, experience. All right, I will tell you one that does make me feel old, because you just made me feel old just then. So one that was quite funny to me was I was doing a music lesson, actually, and I thought I would give the kids a range of music styles to listen to, and we were learning about all sorts of things to do with music. And I popped on Mozart for them because they need to know, of course, all the classics. And I had one student raise his hand and say, "Miss, can we listen to some music from our generation and not yours?" And so that made me feel really old. I'm not that old, I promise. So I was, a little bit taken aback and just thought, look, kids don't know how old you really are.
They don't.
You can't, it's only a joke.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. What was the kid's name? No, we won't share that. We won't share that.
Another school, many moons ago. Maybe I am that old. I don't know.
No, all good. Allison, do you have anything?
Yeah, so mine was actually from when I was on prac, and it's not so much funny as something that's seared into my memory forever. I had my first prac on kindy, and I remember I was teaching a maths lesson, and they were using rice and measuring the volume of containers, which one was bigger, by pouring the rice in. And I thought, okay, there's this new outdoor learning space at the school. Like, this is the perfect lesson to go outside and do. We'll give it a shot. And I just think with the hindsight of more experience, I hadn't really been thinking like a teacher yet. So I got them out, we lined up, and what I didn't know is that, these huge winds had whipped up in the playground while we'd been in. And we know that wind is just a terrible thing to be outdoors with. So I lead kindy out. And, in hindsight, I didn't really set up the behavioural expectations enough, as in, this is a new learning space. We've never used it. What does it look like? How does it work? So we get out there, and it was just horrific. I remember, I don't think it was as bad as I remember it to be, but I just had this moment where I'm sort of looking off into the distance, and my hair's blowing in the wind, and there's paper, there's willies of paper blowing everywhere, and I'm sure there was rice flying through the air, and you can't pick rice up from softball. It's just all in there. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, I've ruined this thing. It's kind of now like my yardstick, where I sort of go, did I think this through properly? Do I need to go back and think about this a little bit more,
I'm sure the kids had fun.
They had a great time.
Yeah.
I don't know what they learned, but they had a great time.
And in that prac that you were doing, did you pass?
I did, yeah.
Then there's no issue, is there?
Lots of reflection.
Learn from my lesson.
Yeah. Oh, well, great stories. Thanks for those, ladies. Wonderful to hear those. Let's talk about knowing your students and how they learn. So it's our professional standard number 1, and you guys as university students should know that this is probably the most important standard you need to take away with you. How do you guys go about knowing your students in your classroom, whether it be the start of the year or, during the year? What do you do to make sure that your classroom environment suits your children as well as you might know them?
I think what you said was really important. I was thinking about standard number one, and I thought it's standard number one for a reason. It's probably number one on my list, and I think it's the first thing that you're going to think about when you go into a classroom and you've got a new class. And there are so many different types of learners as well out there. So it's so important that you need to understand their background, understand where they're coming from, and how they learn is different to each kid. It's very unique. So I just think setting up your classroom, learning about your kids as soon as you're in the classroom with them, and then not limiting yourself on how you teach the kids either, because you could be capturing their, capturing their thoughts and their imaginations and their different strengths with different types of lessons that you present in the classroom. Mm-hmm. So, like I said before, doing a music lesson, even though they picked on me, there's kids that will learn through that. Because there's all different types of learners. You can have kids that are math smart, you can have kids that are word smart, you can have kids that are nature smart. Take them out of the classroom and see how they go too. So
definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
I think as well the first few weeks with a new class are really, really important, because that's when you're sort of presenting yourself to them as well, and they get an understanding of your expectations. But even just spending time, it's completely not wasteful to set aside 2 or 3 weeks where you're focusing on getting to know you activities and doing icebreakers. And even though it might seem like there aren't learning intentions in the middle of those, there actually are, because you're observing how kids go in different situations, who they get along with, how your groupings might work. And I think if you put the time in at the beginning of the year to get to know them and build the relationship, then you're saving yourself time later on, especially when it gets to differentiating in your lessons. You will be much more fluent at deciding, this is my main task, how do I stretch this group, how do I support the lower group, because you'll have a better teacher instinct from seeing how they operate in different activities.
And then in saying that too, kids develop through the year as well. So just that all that time you put in the beginning is so vital, because you have an understanding of where they're coming from and where they're going. And then it's important to have those check-ins with them constantly, so you can also grow and change with them.
I think as well doing extracurricular activities, so even just your lunchtime duties, supervision duties, but if you take a PWSA team, like I had a student in my class who I actually got to know much, much better because I was his PWSA coach as well, and that helped forge that relationship a bit better. So being visible, even if it's just chatting to kids on the playground, I think that helps with the relationship.
Yeah, because ultimately we're asked to measure or take data on these kids, and what we say around here is definitely, we take data, but there's a story behind that, and we can't forget the story of that child, or what that child's doing at that particular time, or what their growth has been at any given time during the year. And you're right, George, they do change, and their interests change as well. So we've got to be cognizant of that, and we've got to grow, change, and react with their growing changes.
Sure.
But anyway, let's talk a little bit about measurement, because I'd like to know how you think you can measure the impact of you guys knowing your students and how they learn, and what that means for you in the classroom environment. How do you think we can measure that impact?
I think there's lots of different ways you could measure. If you're going to measure it technically, you'd look at student learning outcomes. I think that's the major one that as teachers would be most interested in, but then it goes into behaviour, well-being, because it's all encompassing. Knowing your students isn't just about knowing where they are in a continuum, it's about all of the social, emotional stuff as well.
Interesting you bring up behaviour, and for our people out there who are learning to be teachers and they're going to go out into schools and be that teacher right from the start, you talked about behaviour. What are you going to notice in behaviour? Like, if there's any change, like with your students, what are you going to notice?
Well, I think that's why you need to you need to know them pretty well to see if there are any changes in behaviour, because then that would suggest that there's something going on, whether it's in the playground or the classroom, that can be addressed. Some kids, they will struggle with your behavioural expectations throughout the year, and I find that those are the kids that you really need to build a strong relationship with, for them to know the boundaries, and because they'll try and test them. But then, yeah, you might see a fluctuation where that might indicate that the student's going through something that might need to.
So then I guess in addition to that too, you can see their attitude change if there is a issue in the classroom or if there's something that you need to adjust for them. And like you said, like with their motivation. So if they've got high motivation in the classroom, that means that they're willing to be there and they're willing to hear what you have to say and what what you're setting up for them.
Yeah.
So I think that plays a big part too. So as Allison said, it's not always the grades and the continuum. Yes, it's important and that you've got things to teach them, but it's the holistic child. It's their well-being and their motivation in the classroom, their attitude.
It's a good point as well, because the behaviour can indicate if they're not feeling stretched as well. Like you might also actually need to attack that problem through the learning and not just the behaviour, because you might be leaving them behind somewhere that you haven't realised.
They're not being challenged enough, or it's work avoidance for some kids as well, because it's just too tough for them. And really, we've spoken about it a lot over the first few episodes, but differentiation is the key. And the only way you can differentiate well for your class is by knowing what each and every student are doing within your classroom. So, yeah, fantastic.
For sure.
Tell me some of the advantages you might have as a teacher by knowing your students. What are the advantages?
I think the biggest advantage that pops into my head is being more efficient yourself as a practitioner. You can rely a bit more on your instinct when you're programming, instead of having to sit down and think, how would I differentiate this one activity 4 different ways? You kind of just know how. You'll be thinking, I'm thinking of this student to get them there, and I'm thinking of that student, and then you can sort of plot the activities scaffolded in between. And I think, we have such little time to get everything done that being as efficient as you can be is the smart way to do it.
And you can see, I guess, learning growth, and it's just seeing how they develop in the classroom and knowing, again, your students, you can see whether they're actually benefiting from your differentiation and whether you've done it right. And it's okay, it does take time and there are mistakes that you make and you think, oh, that child wasn't challenged enough or maybe too much. But you know your students well enough that you pull back or challenge them, and you just always have in your mind, are they consistently being challenged appropriately? And as Allison said, you've got that knowledge of your students that you just end up doing it quite autonomously, don't you? And you know who you need to target. And sometimes there's some kids who will surprise you and you'll say, okay, next lesson, I've got you.
It's funny, actually. I've struggled with this a lot this year because I've gone from being a classroom teacher to being a teacher in the library. And so I have about 300 students that come through, and we work flexibly, so I don't always work with the same group. So, really I don't know how some of them go with writing tasks because, I don't get to see it often enough. I'll get them for an hour a week, and, it's been a weird year with COVID, but I've really struggled with how do I support students that I don't know. And I've kind of realised that I can't properly support them, but I've learnt to know the task really well, and then how I would support different levels of students, and then on the go I've been able to sort of go, okay, I know what I need to do for you, so this is my group for today, and it's tricky because it'll be maybe different to the group from next week, but as long as I sort of know the content and what to do there, then I can kind of do it in reverse. But it's just really proven how being a classroom teacher, you do get that advantage of knowing them.
Absolutely. And I'll pick up on a point that Georgia mentioned earlier, and well-being, connection, and I suppose that's what you might be struggling with a lot. And I think our young teachers realise that they need to establish a connection, but I don't think they realise the importance of that and getting to know the students really, really well. And it doesn't have to be in an educational sense. I remember coming out, and I'm 108 years old, mind you, but coming out and thinking, my job is to teach, and I've got to impart knowledge. Yeah. But really, I think our job is to establish connection and make sure that these kids know that they're cared for, right? Know that they've got a teacher that will teach them and give them great knowledge, but cares about how they go about that as well. And so the care factor is a big thing. And I think when we're talking in terms of advantage, when you're 108 years old, you keep contact with these people. And people from my first class are in their 40s now, and that's right. I know.
Makes you feel good.
fantastic. But it's nice to know where they are at and what
Yeah.
they've done with their lives, and
Yeah.
and I think that enriches our lives to a certain extent. But yeah, great answers, ladies. Doing fabulously today. What have you learnt along the way? Because this is crucial for the people out here. What have you learned along the way to help build this culture within your classroom? You know, you obviously started from a point, but you're at a very different point now in your careers. What did you learn?
I've probably got two major ones that come to my mind straight away. First one is the fact that every student is different, and it sounds really cliche. You hear it all the time that everyone's different, but it is so true. And it goes back to the point where you're building that rapport with each student. It goes back to checking in with their well-being, making sure that they had a great weekend. You see them in the morning, you say hello to them. I make sure I speak to each and every one of my kids every morning. I say hello, ask them how they are. And then kids that in the playground, from coaching a team or whatever it might be, always saying hello, making that connection with them and making them feel really comfortable at school that they can approach you. So, but within the classroom, knowing that you care about them and that you say hi to them, and you care about their life other than what's written on their writing task, is huge for them. And they know that then they can approach you and that they feel really comfortable in the classroom, as I said. So, you might sort of lump some kids together because they're just really smart and they're really good, but they've got their own lives too. And, you need to check in with them, or the kids that sort of go under the radar, and that happens. You need to check in with those kids as well. So I've just learned from a very, very beginning, early stage, just check in with every kid because, you want to feel comfortable, and so do they. The other one is to celebrate every success. And that was something I still live by. I constantly give out positive feedback. I make sure there's positive reinforcement in my classroom. I give praise when I can, and I just make sure that every student feels some sort of success in the day, because then they'll go home and they'll feel good about themselves being at school and that they've done something right. So even if there's something that they don't do, or there are behaviours in the classroom, they know that what they did probably wasn't the greatest, but hey, we did really well here, and I want to see that again, and just keep that sort of rapport with them.
Yeah, excellent, excellent.
Mine's kind of similar to yours, which is, but you're so positive.
Sorry, yeah.
No, it's just that not all of the relationships with your students are easy. Sometimes you actually have to try a little bit harder with some students. And I've just sort of learnt that you just have to keep being the person that they need and that they can rely on, even if it's hard work. So they might be there to push your buttons, and, it's not personal if that's the case, but it's your job to just sort of show up and show that you're patient and that it's a new day. And even if, they got into trouble for something the day before, you don't hold that against them. It's a fresh day.
Sure.
Speaking like a stage 3 teacher, but
yeah, it's good.
But yeah, I think it's important that we are there to show up for them, like you say.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what grade they are. So,
yeah, because outside of their parents, they see their teacher most, don't they? So and they need to know that school can be the safe place.
Yes,
and which is something you guys do remarkably well. So well done on that. Okay, it's time, and you're both very competitive people. It's the song challenge, where I read out some lyrics, right, and you have to guess the title of the song and the artist.
Yeah.
All right. Now the first person.
Is there just one question?
One. No. I read out a few lyrics.
Okay.
All right, and you can buzz in any time. So buzz in with your name. So let's test your buzzer.
Georgia.
It needs to be probably a little bit louder than that because
Georgia.
I'm hard to. Okay, that's better.
Okay. Ali.
And Ali.
Yeah.
Georgia, Ali. I've got it. Okay, cool. So you buzz in. You got to tell me the name and the artist of the song. That is. We can split it. That's why we've got 2 mentees today. Gone all out on the budget. All right. So one person can get either one. All right. So are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Worth mentioning before we get started, and this will annoy them even further, that Ali asked for some Wiggles songs. All right, and I just couldn't do the Wiggles song. Okay, but knowing them well myself, having children, but that would be too unfair of an advantage. Okay,
Yeah.
since that's all you probably listen to at home with your young one. Something that Georgia will get to know, but not just
Hey, I'm
yet.
not there yet, so it wouldn't be fair.
All right. Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner.
Red Hot
Georgia.
Chili Peppers. Oh, I didn't
Yes.
say my name.
Say my name.
But what's the name of the song?
Under the Bridge.
Yes. All right. Well, even though you didn't say your name,
That's
You-
still a myth. I'd give her a myth.
yeah, I think so. Red Hot Chili Peppers straight away. So a minty for you both. Congratulations. Well done. It was after one line. One line. We had an episode where they were really struggling, and it should have been something that they got straight off the bat. But anyway,
It's a good song. It's okay.
it's a great song.
Yeah.
Great song. Red Hot Chili Peppers, go and buy their album. But anyway, hopefully they put an ad on our YouTube thing. But anyway, I'd like to thank you for joining us, particularly Georgia Matthews, Allison Wong, two wonderful teachers, and off the cuff. You know, we've had people with notes before. You guys were off the cuff today, and I appreciate that because it makes it a conversation. So well done. I'd like to thank our executive producer, Erwin Manalo, not Edwin, Erwin. He's a champion. He's always looking after us tech-wise. But you know, this is the principal's office. Thanks for joining us. Hope you've had a great time. Thanks.
Cool.
It's off to the principal's office you go.